Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Joined once again by Randy Swaim, of
Hello.
course, hi, how are you? Not only our coach, but he's a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach. He has a lot of experience. He is someone that if you haven't heard of him yet, you got to go to the website, coachingforrelevance.com, with all the people that he has helped thrive their business individually, helping people become leaders, helping teams, and so much more. He joins us once again today, and I know we're going to dive into a little bit about perseverance. So,
Mhm.
first, Randy, as a coach, as an author, as please just tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, it's thank you for mentioning the author concept because my autobiography is just about complete, and so it's probably going to be made public very soon, very soon. But I'm also my background is aviation and coaching leaders, and I've had the pleasure of serving with some of the most incredible leaders I've ever experienced, and but I'm also working on my PhD work, which talks about how you develop others and things of that nature, and understanding the brain and how it works. And as I think I've shared with you before, Jill, I'm certified as a master level neuroplastician with ION, the Institute for Organizational Neuroscience over in Germany, and so kind of working with them, still working with them, and working on all that. Like I said, my autobiography is about to be published, and so just a lot of good things there with going forward. And I've had people ask me when I'm going to retire, and my answer is the same. I'm going to retire when I take my last breath because I'm going to run through the tape, kind of thing. And my goal is to try to be beneficial for others all the way for every step of my life.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. And as you say, bringing freedom to potential, and you're helping so many, to all those that crossed your path. You said, see with the new eyes, soar above the storms and experience your altitude, obviously with his aviation background.
Yep, there you go. There you go.
Oh my goodness. So where did you want to start for today?
Well, what we'll do is like you said, we'll talk about a basic concept of perseverance, and it's an insight that a lot of times people don't have, particularly, and it's very rooted with my organizational maneuverability concept, which brings pilot lessons, but they apply them to leading teams in an unpredictable, perhaps a rapidly changing environment where all the factors that are involved were not what they saw right at the beginning. And guess what? That's the real world today. When you go into something to start your strategy for your team, for your business, guess what? Things are going to come on scene that you didn't expect, that you didn't plan for.
Yeah.
And how are you really going to do that? And the point that I want to just make, and I'll kind of launch into this very quickly, and I'll bring a picture or a associated, if you will, analogous image from my Air Force days about this. But I will say this, that when you talk about the concept of perseverance in a lot of today's worlds, when you're moving forward with your company, you have to be thinking about how you are able to persevere and your team is able to persevere. And what I wanted to do is just share this, that the word comes from two pieces. It comes from per and severe. And if you go back into the original language kind of thing, the word per refers to going through. And so it's the word persevere really means go through the severe stuff, and get there. And and what happens in today's environment a lot of times, and has before, when those challenging factors come on scene, that can be a big distraction sometimes because people want to just go fight those distractions rather than being focused. And so the whole concept on persevere is staying very centered, staying in line with where you're going, and all of that. And I'll mention a couple of other things about it after I share the picture from my Air Force days. But in the Air Force, I was instructor Wizzo in the F4 Phantoms. And this one particular day, and I'll just kind of share this with you. It was for this 1 week, there was an exercise going where we were going out to the Dare County Range, and that was going to be our target all week long. And of course, when you're talking about an exercise like this, you're not dropping real bombs. You're dropping practice things and stuff like that. And other airplanes are not shooting you with real bullets. It's just, ways that they can prove that if they had real bullets in it, they would have shot you down, kind of thing. And but this one day we had some F-15s, which were basically, as you know, the F-15s were newer than than the F4s, and so generally speaking, they had a little bit more fuel, a little bit more maneuvering ability, and all that kind of stuff for air to air than we had at the time. But I was glad to be in F4s. I loved F4s ever since I got my commission. But we this one day, everybody, as they went in low level to the range, everybody was going at full power and really high speed so that they could try to beat the F-15s. But what happened is the F-15 Eagles were shooting them all. I mean, they were just getting shot all over. Well, the guy that I flew with, he and I are both instructors at the time, and my nickname was Swami, and his nickname was T-Bird. So it was T-Bird and Swami in this airplane, kind of thing. And we were talking before we started to go to the airplane, and we both agreed that said, you know what, we're going to go slower and conserve a little bit of gas, but also go slower so maybe people aren't surprised by the fact that we're there or something, kind of thing. And so we did. Throughout our whole injector into the bombing range, we flew a lot slower than normal. And we flew and we saved a lot of gas, because what happened is everybody else was burning gas so much that after they dropped their bombs, they had to climb up, to get to an altitude. Well, guess what? The F-15 saw them doing that, and they'd shoot them all the time. And all these guys had come home and gotten shot and all that sort of stuff. And what we did is we stayed very low and very slow all the way in. And after we dropped our bombs, we had enough gas that we could stay low. And as we were coming off the target area, I kind of glanced at the radar and up to the left, and I said, "Oh, F-15, 11 o'clock, which is just to the left of our nose, about 15 miles." And T-Bird said, "Oh yeah, got him in sight." And the F-15 did not see us. And so what we did, and while he was flying, we came up right behind him like this as we came up, and we came right up behind him like this and shot him about 2 or 3 times. And the controllers passed on to him that he just got shot and everything. And he was rocking his wings to acknowledge that he had just gotten shot and all that sort of stuff. And we, climbed up and went home. Well, the funny part of it is about 3 weeks later, we had a staff assistant visit coming down from headquarters Tactical Air Command up in Langley. And some of the squadron mates, we were standing around the duty operations desk, and some of my squadron mates were telling this story to the guy. And the guy from Langley looked at me and pointed his finger. He said, "So you're the one?" And I went, "What?" He said, "You're the one." Well, he came over and he shook my hand, and he said, "I got to tell you," he said, "he was in the squadron when that guy got back home." And he said the guy was so ticked off
Wow.
that he said his head, the words that he gave me, he said his head was almost bouncing off the wall. He was so ticked off that he got shot and everything on that. But the point that I wanted to make on this is, of course, we just smiled and we shook hands again, and I said, "Thank you," kind of thing. But the bottom line is, what I want to kind of get across to people is that's just an analogous picture from the aviation days. But when you're talking about your team and going into a challenging situation, when some of the factors that come on scene were not predictable, were not expected, were not seen, to what extent, with you, their leader, to what extent are you distracting yourself and just going over and focusing all on those factors to get them knocked down, as opposed to staying seriously focused on the goal, the mission, the objective, the strategy, and all of that to get there. Because to the extent that you are being distracted by that, guess what? You're decreasing the likelihood of your success when you do that. And the thing I want to kind of point out to you is when you look at this aspect of perseverance, as we just said, the word means going through the severe points. So going through, a situation where you have all these external factors coming in that make it sound like severe, instead of just being distracted or whatever, do you and your team, are you leading your team in such a way that despite the struggling point there, they're still going forward? Also, instead of being distracted where you want to just go over here and look at these distracting factors over here, or are you aware? Because one of the things that people don't realize is a lot of times those external factors that come on scene can open up a touch of vision of how your strategy can adapt and tweak a little bit and get to a greater success than you even thought about. And are you aware of when that sort of thing is happening? And so the bottom line on that is it's just an interesting picture that when you look at this word of persevere, then most people just want to make everybody calm and all of this sort of stuff, and oh, don't worry about it. Oh, well, they're not, that's not going to let us get there and all that. It's not going to let you get there because you quit, kind of thing. And when you look at you as the leader, do you have a true strategic vision that when you see these factors coming in seen, that you know how you can tweak it? Guess what? Sometimes the people on your team, because they're dealing with it right at the point of attack, the people on your team might have a dramatic success adaptation to apply, and they can communicate it to you sometimes. Are you really bringing your team together in that kind of way where dramatic results can happen? And really, you got to be thinking so much in terms of perseverance. Now, are there times where you may have to kind of knock this other force out of the way? Possibly, depending on how really bad it is and all of that sort of stuff, it's possible. But for leaders, when you're talking about leading your teams in a somewhat rapidly changing, unpredictable VUCA environment, remember that's our word for variable, uncertain, changing, and adaptive kind of thing. When those factors come on, how is your real clarity on that? Because here's the thing. It takes energy to go try to take the challenging factor out. And that could be wasting some of your energy where it's not on your vision and goal and all of that. And so the bottom line is I just offer it as something to think about when you're talking about it. When you look at this persevere aspect of it, to what extent does your team need to have perseverance? And here's the thing, the factor that's coming on may look really bad and terrible, that you know what, if your team has developed perseverance inside of you, they look at it and they go, no big deal, let's keep going, kind of thing. And so there's two aspects about that sometimes people don't think about. It's not about making excuses. It's not about being distracted. Perseverance means knowing what our goal is, knowing how we want to get there, knowing what's going to happen. If we have to adapt it just a little bit because of that force, that's okay. Because if we adapt it, it could be that factor that came on scene adapted our strategy a little bit so that we got to a bigger success than we ever thought. Kind of thing. That can sometimes happen. But when you're talking about leading your team, it's that aspect of the vision about this picture of the perseverance as opposed to being distracted and things like that. There's an aspect about that in your strategic vision. Do you have clarity on that? Does your team have clarity on that? Are you building that within your team? Are you getting a sense of how they need to apply that and how they can be comfortable with that? And I think I shared in a previous situation, previous show, probably about 8 months ago, Jill, with you, kind of thing. And I mentioned that one person was talking to me, and what I told him is, I said, well, at the point of attack, what's it going to take for you to be okay? And that was revolutionary for him. And guess what? In my martial arts experience, sometimes when all those come on scene, you got to have peace. And you know what? A perseverance mindset sometimes can help you have peace even when unexpected factors are coming on scene. And so it's one thing that we need to kind of think about as leaders, but it's also something that we need to think about how we're going to really develop that and build that in our team, in our team members, and all of that. So it's just sharing that picture from my Air Force days of just an analogous insight. But when you're talking about leading your teams in a situation that is not totally predictable and all of that, guess what? Those kind of things can come into play. So it's one thing that we need to really think about is this real, truthful application of perseverance. To what extent is that really being built and developed in you and your team? And at what point do you need to really enhance the perseverance for radical success rather than being distracted? And where's that line drawn on a given situation? Because every situation you come up with, guess what, may be a little bit different. And as the leader in your vision, do you have clarity on that? So it's something to think about when you're talking about really developing your team and really bringing them to some incredible success. So I just offer that for the listeners for today.
Wow. Thank you. Uh,
I'd take that as a positive thing from you, Jill.
of course it is. Yeah, wow. And I just want to please, did you redo the website?
What's that?
Did you redo your website?
I didn't redo it so much. It still has that picture on it and everything, and it has it has the very first 4 videos that we did like 2 years ago
No,
are
no,
still
no,
on.
no,
But yeah,
because
it haven't really changed it. Go ahead.
no, because for some reason I was looking at it and I just that whole shot of you, I'm assuming that's you piloting the plane right here, the beginning video.
Yeah, that's
That
me.
that
Let me rephrase. That's my website. I gotta say, it's actually not me officially. It's what I did when I was in the Air Force. But yeah, it's not that actual picture of the helmet there is not actually me in it, because uh, the uh, the airplane that it shows is not one that I flew. I flew F4s and it looked quite a bit different.
Oh, all right. Well, I just want everyone to go coachingforrelevance.com and really there's so much that you have to offer and I love your stories. I love how you've been featured in so many different numerous publications. I mean, and really accredited and accounted for the testimonials, the people you're working with. I mean, you are one of the best who I know you say will be doing this forever, right? You said you're never
Yeah,
giving it up. You're not retiring ever.
yep. And even after I take my last breath,
Yep.
my autobiography is going to be out there. And guess what? So my life's journey can have a positive impact for other people, and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of insights that I've learned through my journey, and a lot of those are included in the autobiography and stuff. So yeah, uh, it's an amazing story. When I look back on just, I gotta say, I know what it's like to live your dream, and because I did that, and I don't want to do it as it's not just for me. True leaders realize that leading your team is not just about you. It's about your team being better. It's about your team being able to see some of the solutions that they wouldn't have seen before, because of the way that they are built and grown in their work together. And actually, when you look at that and you look at the concept of perseverance, there's an aspect where your team has to encourage the perseverance in each other. and are you kind of leading your team in such a way that that can happen? And so all of those things, like, are very interesting. But yeah, that's my website's out there. They can go on it. And I, if anybody, and I think you know this, Jill, already, if anybody wants to just have a chat with me, I'll welcome it. They're not going to get a sales pitch from me or anything like that. If they tell me of a need that they want from a coach, okay, yeah, we'll come up with something. But if they just want to have a chat a little bit or whatever, so be it. And not a problem.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much for that. And also, I apologize. I have a cold if you can hear it in my voice.
Oh
So
no, I
my
hope you feel better, my friend.
I keep muting it and coughing, so I
Okay.
apologize. You don't hear the coughs, but you see me in action. So I just something I got to get over. I'm okay. But we still
Okay.
have our 5 minutes left. So I want to ask, what else did you want to make sure we share for today?
Well, the big thing on that is, and I guess it's an aspect of um, when you're talking about being a leader, it's not about you telling your team what to do. This aspect about perseverance and having the clarity on these aspects of it. It's not about them just thinking about, well, golly gee, what does he want us to do? I don't know. Well, you know what? Guess what? When they see that, they should be able to bring that perseverance within themselves very quickly and very appropriately, even when you're not there. And a lot of people kind of forget that when you talk about leading a team like that, it's not about you telling them what to do. It's not about you being a dictator. It's about you developing them in such a way that even if you're on vacation, they can make the right calls and the right decisions to reach radical successes. And how would it feel to you if people came to you afterwards, or came to your team afterwards, and they all said, you know what? If it wasn't for our leader, we wouldn't have been able to do this, kind of thing, that he's just, who we are is largely because of, how we've worked together, but also kind of what he built in us. And what kind of an encouragement that would that be for you if your team believed in what you were doing and built the perseverance and got to radical results that nobody would have ever expected. And they say, yeah, you know what, our leader kind of built this within us. And so, yeah, it's awesome. So it's interesting when you look at that. Um, that's kind of like a closing follow-on part of it, that when you're talking about leading, that's a key aspect of it, of building these kind of things within your team and in yourself. And in fact, when you talk about leading and modeling behavior, guess what? When you are building it within yourself, you are modeling for them what they should do. And it's a subtle aspect of the modeling behavior of leadership that a lot of times people don't see.
Well,
Cool.
remind us again how we can reach out to you with any questions. Thank you.
Okay, you can reach out to me. If you go to my website, coachingforrelevance.com, down at the bottom of it, you'll see my cell phone and you'll also see my email. And like I said, I'm not somebody that I'm going to start, selling you something right off the plate. If you have a need of something and you need something from me, yeah, we'll come up with something for it. But if you just want to have a conversation, I will say this, that some of the most awesome conversations I've had at times has just been in a 5-minute conversation with somebody that, we just got to talking in something totally unrelated. And
Got it.
and so yeah, if you can go to my website, the homepage at the bottom, it shows the contact information. And if you'd like to send an email or whatever, uh, perfectly happy to have a chat.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you back here, Randy. Thank you for being here as always,
Well,
and
it's
looking
it,
forward to
it's
we speak next time.
Well, I am too, and it's always an honor for, I think the last 2 years, it's always been an honor to work
Has
with
it
you
been
on
two
this.
years?
I think
Wow.
I think the first four times that are on my website were back when it was before PBNN bought it.
Oh
And
my gosh, that long. And you've been back and
yeah,
forth with Steve and I, who I adore and love. I've known him
yeah.
for like 20 something years. So thank you.
And I appreciate you and I appreciate Steve and glad to get with you. And as you said, definitely look forward to getting with you on the next one.
Same here. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.